outcry for the need for more literacy, as well as a call to garner interest in literature. First and foremost, that lit is an essential part of literacy and developing the mind. Lit has become more and more a female activity. The works brought forth in lit, a body of knowledge.
We, the students of University of St. Louis Tubigarao, imploring the power of literature to us, and indeed, it opens the mind of individual to explore the beauty of every masterpieces in this world.
The poem is about someone who has been experiencing such sorrow, yet he does not know to whom should he speak, to whom should throw up all his regrets, to whom should he confine himself for the brutal acts he had done before. He considered everyone as brothers, but the irony is that this brother does the otherwise from what a brother normally does. It expresses the thought that they are men of violence. They do not consider their brothers in their mankind.
The book tells of Ruth accepting the God of the Israelites as her God and the Israelite people as her own. The book is held in esteem by the Jews who fall under the category of Jews by choice, as is evidenced by the considerable presence of Boaz in rabbinic literature. The book is traditionally ascribed to the prophet Samuel, but does not name its author. A date during the monarchy is suggested by the book's interest in the ancestry of David, but Ruth's identity as a non-Israelite and the stress on the need for an inclusive attitude towards foreigners point to an origin in the 5th century before Christ's era, when intermarriage had become controversial. On Love talks about love and declares that love beckons them along hard, steep ways. Love must be allowed in and believed in, even when it shatters one's dreams. Love crowns and crucifies, grows and prunes, ascends and descends, gathers, grinds, kneads, and forms people into sacred bread for God's peace. Knowing this, the people became fragments of life's heart. Love seeks only to fulfill itself, giving thanks for each new day of loving.
Today, we examine one of the foremost ethical geniuses of world history, Grandmaster Confucius. Confucius was dedicated to the idea that the individual can obtain fullness and happiness by placing others before oneself and by recognizing the desires of others as equal to the desires one has for oneself. While many today would immediately see problems with wife obeying husband and subject loyal to ruler, putting each on equal terms on the name of feminism and democracy, Confucius teaches that if authority is unjust, it should be mentioned, and if the injustice persists, it should be fought.
Matsubasu, the master of Japanese haiku, lived in 70th century in Japan, when haiku hadn't fully developed into the independent poetic form we know today. His poetry shows the power that three-phrase haiku could have, but his masterpiece can both contain poetry and prose. Basho wrote haiku in the matter of his time, with groups and poets and students who would gather to create verse that followed set guidelines.
One of the two great Indian epics that tells about life in India and offers models in Dharma. The hero Rama lived his whole life by the rules of Dharma, that in fact that was why Indians are considered him heroic. This epic has been told, retold, translated, and transpirated throughout the world. From childhood, most Indians learn the characters and incidents of this epic, and they furnish the ideals and wisdom of common life. It helped to bind together those people of India transcending caste, distance, and language.
focuses on societal situation that greatly determine the roles of every person in this society by merely using symbolism to describe each, the burdens that they carry every time throughout their life, describing what the world worst picture but the government never see the problems. Using the mango tree and its parts, the leaves, trunk, roots, and the fruits, symbolizing law enforcers, government, poor, and the people in the society. This folktale guaranteed the wholeness of our society.
Iliad and Odyssey were a major part of ancient history, especially that for ancient Greece. Ancient Greece is a major part of the eastern half of the world's history as well as the western hemisphere. The Iliad is an epic poem traditionally attributed to Homer, set during the Trojan War, the 10-year siege of the city of Troy by a coalition of Greek states. It tells of the battles and events during the weeks of a quarrel between King Agamemnon and Achilles. Along with Odyssey, the Iliad is among the oldest extant works of Western literature, and its written version is usually dated to around the 8th century BC.
It was the first part of Dante Alighieri's 14th century epic poem, Divine Comedy. It is an allegory telling of the journey of Dante through hell, guided by the Roman poet Virgil. In the poem, hell is depicted as 9 circles of suffering located within the earth. The Divine Comedy represents the journey of the soul towards God, with Inferno describing the recognition and rejection of sin.
The play suggests that love is blind and that although there are many different types of love, they can all lead to disaster. He deliberately set the play over a short space of time to make it clear that Romeo was an indecisive character who was forever hanging his mind. He also showed how much some people would do for love.
It was a middle-aged gentleman from the region of La Mancha in central Spain, obsessed with the chivalrous ideals of childhood Jews. He has read, he decided to take up his hands and sword to defend the helpless and destroy the wicked. After a first day's adventure, he sets out on the second one, somewhat befuddled laborer, whom he has persuaded to accompany him as his faithful squire. In the end, the beaten Don Quixote forswears all the chivalry recruits he followed so fervently and dies from shivers.
reflects modern European literature through reason from the Enlightenment. In this story, a young man wants money to be rich until he learns of languages. Point of view, countries and cultures he learned through literature reasons overcomes his greed for money. After using his newfound reason, he does not want money and lives. A historical event in this he takes after would be the World War, where people blindly followed ideas until reason came true and stopped the conflict.
It illustrates the difference between shaming someone in public and allowing to suffer the consequences of an unjust act privately. It is a symbolic in a number of different ways, but perhaps most in the ways that the sinners choose to wear it. African people was enslaved by the whites because of the resources that Africans have, such as the gemstones that very buried under. It is about the passion of African culture. It talks about a guy where it was the author who has never been in Africa, but who remains proud of the achievements of his continent. It sort of talks about the pride in how the Africans got out of slavery, and about how Africa remains the bravest continent and so many stuffs. It later had an opportunity to contribute to the development of Africa in its adult